Hi, everyone. My name is DeAndre Sinet, and I am your host for Distinct Lens Podcast. We have a special guest here with us today. Her name is Jennelle Shan. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Jennelle Shan. You got it right.
Okay, you're 28, HR professional from South London.
Yes.
Okay, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, actually. First time up the east side, so
Okay.
different.
Okay, so
Good.
You're from South London. What was life like growing up there?
Yeah, so I've always been in South London, my family as well. Life was good in South London, I would say. Very ethnic, which is what I liked.
Okay, so when you say ethnic, what do you mean?
Black people, Asian people, yeah. So, loads of things to do. We have so much different cultures in South London, or just London in general, really. So, it's a very active place.
Yeah, I've been to London quite a few times, and I enjoyed it. I don't think I've ever been to South London, though.
You need to.
Yeah, from what you're saying, it sounds like it.
So have you heard of Brixton?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay, so Brixton, South London.
Okay.
Even though it's different now to what it was when I was growing up, it's gentrified now. But everyone knows Brixton, so I just live just past Brixton. Yeah.
Okay. So who'd you grow up with? Your mom, your dad?
My mum.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up with my mum, but because my mum was always working and she was a single mum, I spent a lot of time with my grandma.
Okay.
Growing up. Yeah.
Okay. What was that like?
Yeah, my grandma, she's just an old school Caribbean, so very traditional. She always taught me the importance of reading. And when I mean reading, I don't just mean books, but the dictionary, just being familiarising myself with words.
Really?
Yeah, because she always used to go on about how she'd be articulating myself as I get older. But she had a free-spirited side to her, I would say. When she would pick me up from school, if I was having a naughty day, if I was being naughty, she would never tell my mum, whereas my granddad would always tell my mum. So I kind of knew the days where I could be naughty or not.
Now, what would constitute as being naughty?
Oh, so this was when I was in primary school. So.
Oh, so you were just a kid.
I was just young. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just really, really young.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what type of work did your mom do?
My mom has always been in human resources.
Okay. And that's the field that you're in as well, too, right? Okay. What type of work did she do in human resources?
Just general HR. So the full employee life cycle. And she actually does a lot of diversity and inclusion work as well, particularly around race. So that's like a new branch that she's been doing for the past 3 years. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And your grandparents, what did they do?
So when my grandparents, so I don't know them for working when I was born because they had retired by then. But my grandma was when she came here as part of the Windrush, she was a nurse. And then she went into typewriting.
Okay. And now, question.
Yeah.
For those viewers who don't know what the Windrush is, could you give a bit of background, just for context sake?
Yeah, sure. So the Windrush happened in the 1940s after World War II, where this country was just, everything was like broken down. It was just a mess. And they needed people in public sector jobs like nursing, like transportation. And because English people didn't want to do those jobs because they were low-paid jobs, the government asked for people from the Caribbean to come over and do those jobs.
And did they have like some type of incentive to get the people to come from the Caribbean?
No, it was just welcome. And remember, in those days, the Caribbean saw England as their motherland.
Because it had been colonized.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my grandma would say, "Oh, I'm going home." That's what she would say. I'm going. And the Queen, they really admired the Queen.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know that either because I don't admire the Queen. I don't think a lot of people my age do.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah, because when my grandma talks about her history, and especially now because she's got dementia now, poor thing, but she taps into years back, and she talks about how she remembers coming here, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm going home. I'm going to be where the Queen is."
And she's excited.
Yeah, she's excited about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old are your grandparents?
My grandfather has passed away, sadly, in 2012.
Okay. My condolences to you.
He was, I'm not sure. My grandma is 84, and my granddad was older than her, in his 90s. He would be in his 90s. Yeah.
That means you're going to live for a long time, too.
Well, hopefully.
Okay. So, in the education system, so you were born and raised here.
Yeah.
So you went to primary school in London, and I'm assuming all the way up until...
I even went to university in London. So,
okay.
Yeah.
What was your experience like in the education system?
My experience in the education system, when I was younger, I didn't have the best concentration levels. I know that as I'm older now, but before they would just label me as someone that has ADHD and just behavioural problems. But it was because of that structured setting that I just couldn't concentrate in, and because of that I would always get distracted. But I was always intelligent. It just wasn't channeled the right way. So, and that was all up until secondary school, actually. And I remember when I was...
And secondary school begins at what age? 11, 12?
12 and ends at 16.
Okay.
And I remember because after secondary school, you go to college, and when you're applying for college, you go over your predicted grades. Mm-hmm. And I remember my predicted grades were all low. And I didn't actually have a college to go to. And because of that, that's when I just re-engineered myself.
Really?
Yeah, that's when I couldn't go. And remember at that time, it's a case of everyone's going to college. So you don't even know. I didn't even know the importance of going to college at that time. I just knew that was the next step. I couldn't see myself doing... I wasn't... I guess I didn't really have vision back then. I just knew I was going to go to college.
You were young, so...
Yeah, I was young. But yeah, I guess... But maybe vision, I mean, I never was one of those people that had these massive ambitions at that age. That came later on. Okay.
So, question, the re-engineering that you just described, like what triggered that? I know you mentioned your grades.
Yeah, when they weren't accepting me because my predicted grades were not good.
And so after that experience, you said, hey, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah, I'm going to do well.
Okay.
I'm going to do well. And then, that's when I started studying.
So up to that point, did you not take it seriously?
No.
Okay. So that was you just like, I'm just going to get through this. It'll be okay. Yeah. But then you realize, well, I can't continue.
Yeah, I can't continue.
Get this together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what was interesting actually, because I remember in year 9 when we did our SATs, I don't know if they still do that now. And I remember I did really, really well at maths. And I remember we had 10 sets and I was in set number 3. And I remember I just went down set, down set, down set, down set.
Because with the other disciplines?
No, in maths.
Oh.
I just went down sets after sets after sets. Because of my behaviour. And my behaviour was affecting my academic performance. But I was always smart because geography, I was in set 1, the highest set.
Now, when you say your behaviour, you seem like you're well-mannered. So.
Well, now I am, yeah. But I'm always, and I'm still like that. I've always been rebellious.
Really?
Yeah, I have. I know I don't come across that way, but...
Okay.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
That's interesting. So, I want to change gears a bit.
Yeah.
In the education system, do you think it prepared you to manage finances well?
No.
So did you have was there any type of courses that you took or any type of education that you got?
No.
What about at home, from your mom?
My mom is a spender.
And when you say a spender, what do you mean?
So my mom, like I said, most of my childhood I was with my grandparents, my grandma in particular. Mm-hmm. Because my mum was always working. And I remember when she shifted from the public sector to the private sector, when she had her first job in the IT industry, that's when our lives changed because we started going on holidays every year. And our lives just changed, basically. And that was when I was about, I would say, when I started secondary school, actually. Because I remember
about 12.
Yeah. About, maybe, no, not that young, maybe 14.
Okay.
14. And I remember people saying, oh, you're always good on holiday. And I didn't get it because I thought that was
the norm.
Yeah. And my mum never came across as if we're
well-to-do.
Yeah. Not at that time.
Yeah. So, you know what's interesting? Like, when I first came here, like, you guys say holiday. We say vacation back in the States. But holiday is like the norm. Like, well, I want to say the people that I've associated with, they always talk about going on holiday here or there or traveling here or there. Like me growing up, vacation, that wasn't a word that was used in our house. Like they would take time off from work, but we wouldn't travel anywhere. It wasn't until I got a bit older, like now, that I've actually started to travel a bit. Mm-hmm. And when you say your quality of life improved because your mom, she got a better paying job, started doing working in a different industry, it's just interesting to hear you talk about it that way. And how, where someone works determines what their quality of life will be, essentially.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Indeed.
Okay. So, as you know, I sent all my guests like a pre-interview questionnaire. And one of the questions I asked was, how comfortable are you making financial decisions on a scale of 1 to 10? And 1 to 100. Well, 0 to 100 is actually what it was. You said 90. Yeah. So now I want to ask, you said you didn't receive that financial education at home. You didn't receive it from the education system. Where did that come from?
That is a really good question. I remember, that came from my grandma. Because my grandma would always say to me from a young age, always save your money.
Sure. She instilled one of the wealth building strategies, which is saving money.
Yeah, but it wasn't a case of, there was never a why.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Caribbean parents are like, just do this.
just do it.
Just do it. And obviously I wasn't making money at the time. And then, but I just remember her always telling me that I need to save my money. The two things she'll say: save your money and never give man any money.
So save your money and don't give it away to men.
Yeah, don't give it away to men. And going back, I'm just thinking, I'm actually just, really going back and thinking, why do I remember her always saying that to me, even though she wouldn't give me money and I wasn't working? So why would she be saying that randomly?
For moments like this.
Yeah, I guess.
And it seems like it ingrained with you subconsciously.
Yes, because when I started working, I remember I really wanted a job when I was 16 because I think it was just natural independence. I wanted to have my own money because my mum would give me pocket money. But it was pocket money for working, like doing chores in the house and stuff like that.
Right.
And I started working, and I remember when I first started working, I wasn't really saving, and then I just started saving. I'm not really sure what the trigger point was, but I remember I just started saving, and when my mum I said, Mum, I want to pay for my own phone bill now, and I want to,
So you went to your mom and said, I'm going to start paying these bills.
Yeah, but I was older though. I was in my early 20s.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And from then I was like, I want to be more independent with my money. So I just started saving, and I remember actually on LBC, so that's a radio station in the UK. Okay. I remember they were talking about how people in their 20s need to start saving for their pension because retirement's not going to be the same. And around the same time, it became legal to contribute to your pension or have the option to. You can always opt out, but they had the auto-enrollment. That's what came into place. And then from then I was thinking, I didn't get what they meant because I was still young. My mum doesn't have that mindset. My grandma, even though she's about saving, it stops there. So my grandma never invested, for example.
Okay. One of the other wealth building strategies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, my mum owned her home, my grandma owned her home. So that's I just saw that as the next step.
And you're about to buy a home, right?
Yeah, I'm in the process of going through that. But I was like, yeah, I want to do these things. I want to own my home. I want to have my own money, and that was that kind of started.
Okay.
The journey, I guess.
And then it grew from there.
When I actually started working in the city, when I think I was about 24.
Mm.
Or 24. And my first job in the city, we only recruited from Oxford and Cambridge.
And this is after you attended university.
Yeah.
Because eventually you ended up getting in, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So university, I got in. And even then I was working. And I also was selling aloe vera products through a network company, a network marketing company.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make my own money. And then, so when I worked in the city, because of that class, because Oxford and Cambridge are the best universities in the UK.
Right.
So
some would argue in the world as well.
Well, yeah. And the things they would do on the weekend or on a long bank holiday, it was always something extravagant. Like the places they were going, or if they wanted to go out after work, the restaurants we were going to. And then I'm there and remember I'm doing a support function in a tech company. So these tech people, they're getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
At that time, I was on 26,000 and they were on 40,000 plus.
Wow.
So they were on a lot of money.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, I can't afford this all the time. But I wanted to afford it all the time.
Right.
And that kind of opened my eyes a bit more. That, okay, in order for me to live that lifestyle, I need to save to do it, basically. It was difficult because none of my friends had that mindset at that time.
To save.
Yeah.
And plan for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And have that forward thinking. Why do you think that is? What do you think the difference was?
I think they weren't in the same environment that I was. In terms of occupation, job.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think that working environment had a significant influence on the reason why you started to save even more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember wanting more money. I remember seeing, I was in HR, so I could see other people's salaries, and I remember thinking, why am I not paid that much? And I could see my colleague's salary, who at that time, she was making £48,000, which is significantly more than me. But at that time,
I need to be making that money too.
Yeah. And I think going into that job as well, and this is one thing that I'm an advocate for now, I never negotiate my salary because I didn't know that you could. So I just took what they gave me. And it was only when I got in the job that I saw that, I've been taken for a mug.
So I think that's a really good point to share with the listeners. So when you say negotiate your salary, I remember when I got my first job, I didn't negotiate either. I was just happy to have a job. I was like, oh, this is a great company. I love working here. This is wonderful. But I didn't negotiate. And, I don't want to say they took advantage, but, they had the knowledge I didn't.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend to everyone that's watching and listening that they do?
To always negotiate.
Okay.
And I say that I do HR, so it's very unlikely that it's very likely that there's going to be a salary range, and then they'll pay you within that range.
Okay. You said it's very likely that there is a salary range? Okay. Now, how would John or Jane Doe go about understanding? Would they Google it for this particular role? I would be making between this amount and this amount. Like, how would they get that information so they could go about a practical application of what you're saying in terms of negotiation? So
the range would always be internal based on that company, but you can look online to, especially Glassdoor, because people submit their salaries on there.
So that's a good place. So
you can see how much people are being paid for what you do.
Now, I've used Glassdoor for that reason. I know sometimes they ask for you to pay for that information. Are there any other sites that are free where you can access that information?
No. No, not that I know of.
Okay.
No, Glassdoor is really good. I didn't know you have to pay for Glassdoor, actually. I've got an account with them.
Well, the last time I looked, so I did a couple different searches, and then maybe it was the amount of searches I did. After a while, they were like, "Well, you're gonna need to pay for this because it's an additional feature."
Oh, I see.
So maybe I searched too much. I don't know.
Okay. You know, I think it's always good.
For all intents and purposes, use Glassdoor to negotiate your salary.
Yes, use Glassdoor, and just be aware of other people in the profession being paid.
Mm-hmm.
And use that as to your advantage. And even if you don't know, because when I negotiate now, I really focus on the value that I can bring to this role based on what I've done.
Okay.
And I'm a good negotiator now. Even for my role, I asked for 15K more than what I was on in my previous role, just to see
as a starting point. Yeah, that's what I do too.
Yeah. But I think just from my experience, the things I've seen people negotiate is just crazy. Like, one of my companies, somebody negotiated for us to pay for his children to go to private school.
Really?
Yeah.
As a part. Now, what level seniority?
That's director level.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really what you're saying is knowing your value and then asking for what you believe you're worth.
Yeah, I'm saying that. But I think your worth is limitless.
Okay.
That is just limitless. I think it's more what you've done and packaging that when you're describing that to your new proposed employer, doing it that way about the value that you can bring to them, and always asking for more. Always. I think it's always negotiate, always, all the time. Because
what's the worst they can do? Say no.
Say no. And the thing is, it's when you negotiate, because if you're usually negotiate when you've already got the offer, so they're already proposing you a salary, you're just asking for more.
Okay.
It's different if they ask you what do you want at interview stage. That's slightly different.
Right.
That's when you just propose a salary.
But when they actually make an offer, is when you start to negotiate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you've already got the job, they're not going to take it off you.
Yeah, because that's a long process that they would have to repeat again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent insight. Excellent insight. Okay. I just thought about something that I should have mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. You're also an entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so could you tell us a bit about your business, what the name of it is, what you do, how long you started it?
Yeah, sure. So my company is called CV Interact, and it's a CV services company.
CV Interact?
CV Interact, yeah.
Okay.
So I do everything from CVs, cover letters, interview training, LinkedIn profile optimization, etc., and just general career advice. So I've been doing that since March 2019, so 2 years ago. It's March now, isn't it?
This is your 2-year anniversary.
I don't remember the date, though. I don't remember the actual date, which is so unfortunate. Because when I started it, I didn't really... I didn't have the vision when I started.
Okay.
So I've been doing that for 2 years, and I am in the process of transitioning to a career coaching service.
Okay.
And my focus is going to be coaching experienced professionals to get high-level jobs in a new company at higher pay. So, and the reason why I'm transitioning, well, I guess from a financial point of view, I really want to double my income, triple my income. Like my actual targets, I really want to be making minimum 5K a month. So between 5 and 10K. That is actually one of my medium financial goals that I want to be achieving.
Okay.
And I'm working and I with work, I really like my company. And realistically, am I going to get 10K with them? Not anytime soon. Because, and this is again going back to what people get paid, because let's just put it this way. In my last company, for example, one of my last companies, I remember there was a person that was on 135K, senior director, and they were taking home 8K a month, which isn't that. When you think about it, how long is it going to take you to get to that salary as a senior director?
Right.
Compared to being an entrepreneur and being able to make more than that.
Yeah, there's no cap.
There's no cap.
Or a time limit on it.
Exactly.
It all goes in how much you're going to put into it.
Exactly.
That's a brilliant way of looking at it. Because to get to that level, I get what you mean now. To get to that level within a company, especially if you start at an entry level or even mid-level management, you could easily be in the role 5, 10, maybe 15 years before you reach that level.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Couple questions for you. Around the LinkedIn optimization. I'll come back to that one. The first question is, why coaching for experienced professionals? Why that space, that demographic?
Niche. The reason why is because looking at my results, where I've achieved the best results with my clients, and by results I mean they get, and usually it's a case of they get the full package. So CV, cover letter, LinkedIn, job, interview training, and they've got the job. My best results have been people that have been experienced professionals. That's been my best result. So that's the market I want to focus on because I have proven results.
Okay.
And I'm really looking to transition it because at the moment, my packages for experience levels, you're looking at £145 for that service. My career coaching is going to be a 4-figure service. So I need to make sure that I can deliver the results to be charging that
4-figure.
Yeah, that price. Yeah.
Okay. And the LinkedIn optimization, could you tell me a bit about how that service works? So, and I'm asking because, number one, I'm curious because I would like to use your services, but I think it would be interesting for everybody else to hear it as well.
Yeah, so my LinkedIn service is all about the way you position yourself. So I do the complete rewrite. And the main things that I focus on is having those key skills on your profile. Because how LinkedIn works is based on algorithms. So the more skills on your profile, you'll rank higher on the algorithm. And it's just about positioning yourself. And again, with the experienced professionals, positioning yourself as C-suite. That's what I focus on. Even if you don't want to get to that level, it's about positioning yourself that way, using the same language that they use throughout your profile. That's the key thing that I focus on. And then you've got the optimization side, which is more, advice and a guide that I give to my clients because you need to be active on LinkedIn. You can't just have a profile. That's not enough.
Right.
You need to be networking with people. You need to be speaking with people. You need to be commenting on posts. You need to be liking posts. You need to be really engaging on the platform. And I teach people exactly how to do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You sound really knowledgeable.
Yeah. I mean, I've been... 2 years. I guess you can't really. 2 years. I've used. I think I've been that person as well that has jumped around jobs. Because if I'm not happy, I'll just leave. So I've had to learn. I've had to learn I've had to learn this stuff myself
through trial and error on your own.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're tried, tested, and true, and you have that 10,000 hour expertise. And what I mean by that, I read in a book years ago. They said after 10,000 hours of learning a particular subject matter, you become an expert. And on average, people spend 5,000 a year learning something, whatever it is. So 2 years, you're an expert.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I am.
Excellent. That's super interesting. So you're going to move to career coaching.
Yeah.
Do you plan to expand not only in terms of services, but maybe employees in the future?
No.
You said that really quickly.
No. So one thing that business has taught me is that how much I value my time. And I love what I do, but it can be draining if I'm getting consistent clients coming in. And I work full time, and I don't want to leave my job because I like my job, and it's a source of income. And that's one of the reasons I actually looked at my structure and said, what do I really want? And it just makes sense, because if I'm charging a four-figure amount for a service, I don't need that many clients.
Yeah.
So, and my business
would
now.
Would this be like a subscription or a one-time payment?
One time, you can pay in installments.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still working it all out. Okay. So, but yeah, it'll be one-off or installments. So, and my service now, and that's why it's called CV Interact, because you interact. I'm very interactive. I'm very social. You get access to me. I talk to my clients all the time.
Okay.
So for me to get more employees, my clients wouldn't be talking to me.
I see what you mean, and so it would kind of diminish the brand in a sense.
Yeah, because I'm my brand.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's I am thinking, and that's the thing. This is just the beginning, and I haven't actually launched it yet, but I do plan on launching another type of service, which will be, so my current service, the career coaching service, will be from CV to salary negotiation.
Okay.
And because I'm good at the career progression and career advice, so the next steps will be from onboarding to C-suite promotion.
Okay.
Will be another service. So I'll do more services for more money rather than more employees.
Okay, that makes sense. So you would move to a higher paying service, as opposed to bringing on people to do more of the services that you currently offer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Sounds well thought out.
Well, I'm getting there. It is a journey, and
so what made you? And maybe I should have started with this question. What made you start CV Interact? And is your website? Is it www.cvinteract.com?
It's www.cv-interact.co.uk.
.co.
Yeah, in the UK it's more .co.uk.
Okay.
So the reason I started CV Interact, so when I hit college, when I had that incident where I was told I wouldn't get into it, I didn't get any offers. That kind of changed my mindset, and that's when I started to become very ambitious. And I knew, and because my mum had a good job, she was actually senior at that time.
When you say senior, what do you mean?
She was a senior manager.
Okay.
Yeah, like running her own department and things like that. And that's what I wanted to do. So I was like, I want to be a director.
Okay.
I remember thinking, I want to be a HR director. I want to do this, do that. And then when I left the first job I had in the city, where I was a HR assistant on 26k, and then I progressed, I've got into a law firm, that's when I was thinking, do you know what, I've made it now. I remember, even though I wasn't a director, I was thinking, this is the path. I'm in a good industry, I'm on good pay, this is great. And then that's when I started getting exposed to politics. That's when I started getting exposed to, not exposed, but I started to feel very unfulfilled.
Like you wanted more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted more, but because of the politics and because of...
Oh, you mean the politics within an organization?
An organization.
Okay.
Because of the politics, and I saw my manager and my director, and I was thinking, that's not inspiring.
Now, could you give me an example, or...
Sure. My manager would work outside the normal working hours because she's busy. She will be changing the way she speaks with people. I've seen people talk to her like crap.
At a more senior level than her?
Yeah.
And she just takes it because she's in the role?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think seeing stuff like that, I was like, this isn't worth it. And seeing what people got paid as well. I remember there was somebody on 90k in that organisation, and they were taking home just over I think it was just over 4.5k. And I was thinking, that's not that much for what you're doing in your job.
So they should have been making more for what they were doing.
Yeah, I thought you should be taking home more. I wouldn't say making more, but you would think 90k is a lot of money. but it's only around 4.5K
Take home.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, is it worth it? And I've always been that person, because I remember as well, actually, I probably should have mentioned this, when I was 12 and we went on a trip to France with the school.
Mm.
And I remember I didn't have any money. I don't remember, I think my mum didn't give me money because I did something naughty. So she was like, you don't need any money.
Mm.
And then I just started to wash people's clothes. I started charging people for me to wash their clothes.
So you've always had a little hustle about yourself.
Yeah, so I have always had it.
Okay.
I'm thinking about it in hindsight.
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier about selling aloe vera products.
Yeah. That was in uni. So, I've always had the drive. I've always wanted to just do different stuff. And I think when I get bored, and that links back to when I was a child, because that's when I was naughty, because I was bored, because there was structure. And I think that's the other thing, when I saw this structure at work, 9 to 5, go home, sleep, eat, repeat. It just didn't sit well with me.
Likewise, that's actually what I've been ambitious since I was really, really young. But I remember that moment when I was at home, and I just took a step back and I looked at my family life. And I'm talking about my parents specifically, their work-life balance. They were working easily 60, 70 hours a week. And my mom specifically, like she wasn't paying into any company retirement plan. In the United States, we call them 401k, like company paid retirement pension plans.
Yeah.
Like there was no scheme like that in place. She, in a lot of cases, wasn't even being paid overtime for the hours that she was working in excess of 40 hours per week. Because once you hit over 40 hours a week, you're supposed to get paid overtime. But they had found a way to bypass that law in Texas and still had her working. And then I saw my dad, how much he worked. And then also I told you, he was a preacher. So a lot of his time was ate up doing things that I don't want to say weren't beneficial for the future, but weren't forward thinking from a financial sense. And so I remember when I hit that moment, I was like, I want to do something different. I want to do something a bit different. And not to say that they did anything wrong, but to say there's another way to go about this. Because they would come home and they would be drained. And not just from working so many hours, but from, like you said, the politics of even having to hold a role. And they weren't even in senior roles. They were sometimes in entry-level roles when I was younger, and then they worked their way up. But, just dealing with what comes with being employed by someone else. For me, I was like, this doesn't seem like it was worth it. And then I would hear, I got exposed to music and different types of rappers. I remember hearing Jay-Z, like, for the first time. And he was talking about, I did it my way. So I like, that inspired me as well. I was like, I'm going to do this my way.
Yeah, and we're all finding our way. That's the thing, but I think that's the start, deciding that you want to try a different route and do something different, and then you meet people on the way.
Who are like-minded. And that's how you and I got connected.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, excellent. So one of the other questions I asked you was about what book or podcast or magazine that you've read that had the most influence on you. And you said Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, why was that the most influential or impactful for you?
So when I went to Trinidad on one trip, I think I was about...
And Trinidad is where your family is from,
Yeah,
right?
my family are from. I was young. I think I was about 14. And I remember my great uncle, my grandma's brother, who is a pastor and he's an engineer. He's very successful. He gave me this book and told me to read the book. But I didn't read it. Because there was no why.
There
was no
behind reading the book.
Yeah,
he just gave it to you. It was like, read the book.
Yeah, read the book. And then I went back to Trinidad when I was around 18. And then his nephew, so my second cousin, said to me, no, my mum actually told me that he's investing, he's got his own properties, he's doing X, Y, and Z. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. I I don't know anything about it because we don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, just start off with Reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was like, oh, I've got that book because Uncle Ken gave it to me.
Right.
I've got that book. So then came back to London and then I read the book.
So now you had the why behind reading it.
Yeah,
okay.
I had the why. I read the book and I remember thinking, oh, okay, there's more to life than working and having a business.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was what it seemed like the options were, to work or you have a business selling products.
Mm-hmm.
It's very vague what I thought business was back in the day. Now I know it's very versatile.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think the reason why I say that's the most influential book, because that's the first time I became aware of what investments were. That's the first time I became aware of something that was unscripted.
Okay.
So that was the beginning of my journey.
Okay. So now you had this insight, okay, I can get income from not only working, but also I can be an entrepreneur. But on that path, you also learned about investing from Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Okay. And all of those, the reason I laid it out like that, because all three of those things are wealth building strategies, to include what you learned really early on from your grandmother, saving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Super interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. One more thing I wanted to go over, the answer to the last question. I really liked what you responded. So I asked if you could send yourself a message 10 years into the future about finances, what would that message be? And you said, you won't be thinking about your finances on your deathbed.
Yeah.
Could you unpack that a bit?
Yeah, so I went through a stage in life, and this is when I was doing my business, at the beginning stage, where I was just so money driven.
Mm-hmm.
And I was distancing myself from everyone because I was so focused on money.
Okay.
And this is why this is kind of why I'm going to go to career coaching, because I want the balance. And at that time, my mental health struggled.
Because you were so focused
on money.
Okay.
And the reality is, especially someone like me who's an extrovert, you need your friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just feel like on my deathbed, I'm not going to be thinking about my money.
And you can't take it with you.
And I can't take it with me.
Okay.
And technically, if I don't have any children, I don't really, not that I don't need to build wealth, but it's not, I think in the Black community, when you talk about wealth, we're talking about wealth to be passed down to our generational wealth, basically. And even if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't need that kind of wealth because I'm not generating it for anyone. So
okay,
yeah. So I guess my plans when I'm thinking about money and what my drive for money is that I can live a fulfilling life.
Mm-hmm.
I like holidays, for example. I like to wine and dine. I like to have fun. But also in that same process, because I'm also investing, isn't it? So, and I'm not planning to touch my investments for 10 years. And I'm actually thinking about my retirement as well, because I want to be able to live my life and also have enough for my retirement. So those are the things these are all the things I'm thinking about, but I don't want to be drained in making the money and neglecting my social life and my mental health. That's something I personally don't agree with.
No, I think that's why I wanted you to unpack that statement, because I think that's an excellent point.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a good balance about how you go about building wealth.
Yeah.
Go about managing your finances. Go about bringing in additional streams of income, because you don't want your personal life to suffer because of it. Because, like you said, you can't take it with you. Mm-hmm. And even if you are able to pass it on, you might not even have good relationships with the people who you want to pass it on to, because you are in such, you have these blinders on. You can't see anything but the money.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's true. Yeah.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Now, so I want to ask, is there anything you want to say? Well, first, I want you to plug your business. So tell us every platform we can find you on, how to reach you, how to look up your business, so on and so forth.
So I'm on my website is www.cb-interact.co.uk.
Uh-huh.
My Instagram page is CB Interact 101. So those are the two platforms that I am on with my business. So yeah, just feel free to just check me out.
Okay, and just so you guys know, I'm gonna check her out. I've done a bit of research about it, and I'm impressed thus far. And I think you're gonna bring some good results.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you for being a guest on the show. This has been wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. You were an excellent guest. I've been super excited about this all week, and I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.